Johnny Cook, and I'm a retired racer. Well, I'm the first one in the family that raced. Everybody else just run up and down gravel roads. I took it to the racetrack and been racing since back in the 60s, early 60s. My son races. He started racing when he was 14, 15 years old. So he's actually been racing about as long as I have. He started with like pure stocks. I was running late models and super hobbies back in the day, and then when he got old enough, he started driving for me, started driving a late model for me, and we went from late model to modifieds. He wound up running a modified, and he hadn't run, he like me, he hadn't raced in a couple of years, so we're just kind of retired, I guess. So we love it, just like everybody else that does it. So we've had prayer before the races, depending on who was on, you know, the pit crew and the circumstances, I guess you'd say. But I'm not a real religious type of guy. But just whatever anybody in the pit crew wanted to do, that's what we done. You know, some of them, they say you can't have a green car, or some of them don't want to eat chicken on race day or whatever. It's always been a real tight community. And the race fans is what we used to really get even down here, you know, they'd let the fans come out, the kids come out during intermission, you'd sign autographs and, you know, give away or sell t-shirts, whatever you had, caps. And it seemed like that was when it was really at the top of the entertainment field, I guess you call it. Now there's so many choices people's got that you don't see too many kids out here anymore. We need really some younger people involved in it. We've been doing it for so long, we just kind of take it for granted. But if you look around, you really need young people involved in it. My first race, scared to death. Well, I had a brother-in-law that had an old 55 Plymouth, and I drove it, had a set of factory seat belts in it out of something else, and a bench seat. And the seat belts come undone the first lap I made, and it was pretty exciting, but that's what really got me hooked on it, I guess. That was a long time ago. Well, I think now they call it a need for speed, but I don't know what you called it back when I started, but it was just something to do back in the day. You know, we didn't have all the choices that young folks have got now to do on Friday night or Saturday night. But we'd go to the local racetracks. The first one that I run on was the old Pocahontas track, and this kind of started from there. But my family, my kids, my wife, they loved to do it, so we done it. My kids grew up in it, so they both love it still yet. So and grandkids, they race, or one of them did for a while, but it helps if the family's involved in it. We're in there, but. Most of the people that I raced with back then's been gone for a few years. You know, some of them still around, but most of them not. So I feel like I'm really fortunate to be around here like I am. So probably the best way to get involved in it now would be just to find somebody that races and go help them, just to kind of get your feet wet in it and figure out what's going on and see what you'd want to do, whether it be mechanic on one or even driving one of them. But it's just That'd be the best thing to do. It's so expensive anymore. It's really hard for young people to get really involved in it to the point where they could race without getting knowing somebody either in the family or neighbors or friends that's got an old car that they could go with and just get a little bit of experience on it and figure out if that's what they want to do. Because it's pretty expensive too. So people like Jeremy and John and Michael, you know, boys that's come through my shop, you know, on their way to where they're at now, you know. And I like to think that I helped them along the way, you know, somewhere. And but it's really hard. Even when they started, it was hard to get started. But now it's even worse. But you can still do it if you really wanted to. Yeah, no, I've always been a local racer. My son, when he started racing, we'd go off to, you know, down Texas or Boone, Iowa, or, you know, Talladega, places like that, and once or twice a year, and just go out and spend money, you might say. But we've had some good experiences racing. But myself, I was just always local. There's 3 or 4 racetracks around here that we run at. We won championships at all of them, so we was pretty successful at it. Just get with somebody that was pretty successful and just go with them and help them and learn the ins and outs of the racing community, you might say. And, you know, you might see or hear somebody that you might like to help more than the ones that you're helping, you know, just getting started. But just get your hands-on experience really is what it takes. Have a good job too. Yeah. My whole racing career has been I don't know. When you love it like most people that's done it as long as I have, every Saturday night is a new experience. And we run out here on this track when it first started. When they was holes, you could put this trailer in just about, you know. And there's been experiences, and I don't remember any of them just offhand, but you know, we've run over, went to hit trees out here. We got put in the woods one night and run into a tree and caved the whole front end, the radiator and frames and everything in. Had to send somebody back to Jonesboro and get radiators and borrowed a welder. Back then everybody didn't have welders, but we borrowed, found a welder and put the thing all back together and just took a piece of Lex sand, stuck in front of the radiator and went out and won the feature that night, you know. And you have stories like that, you know. If you sit around, you know, like down at my shop, we'll sit around a lot of times. People just drops in and they'll start telling stories like that, and it just goes from, you know. Usually the older they are, the better they are, you know. It seems like the stories kind of grow as it goes along, but well, like I say, you have to love it too. I mean, you can't just like it. It's liking it's not near good enough. You got to really love it to do it, and it's got to mean a lot to you just to come out. 'Cause we come out here a lot of times. It's pretty pleasant here tonight, but a lot of times we come to races when it's so cold you freeze to death, and it'll be, you know, in the summertime so hot you can't hardly breathe. But you know, we went to over in Tennessee one time. We had to scrape the ice off the front of the car. You know, the mud would be froze on it, and you have to get a scraper and scrape them off. So you just really have to. If you just liked it, you just go home, you know. But you just really have to love it to do it, and do it all the time, every week, you know, like we do. We race anywhere from 20 to 30 or 40 races a year, and you've got to love it to do that. Oh yeah, I love it. I can't do it like I used to, but the want to is still there, just not the able to, I guess you'd say. But but I still love it just as much as I ever did. But it's just hard to get in and out of the cars anymore.
My name's Jeremy Russell. I'm the driver of the Keg 1 Street Stock. It's my wife.
Tasha. I teach at Bay Elementary.
I started racing. I got into racing because of my uncles and my grandfather. They raced. My family's been racing probably for 40-something years. I'm I guess you'd say, the third generation racing, and it's just something we started doing and we fell in love with it the first time and just been doing it ever since. We're more of local now. The past 5 years or so, we've been more of a local. There at one time we ran, I guess you could say regional, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Mississippi, surrounding states of Arkansas mainly. But now we just normally race in this area. Over the years I've drove what they call a mini stock. It's just a beginner entry type class. And then I've drove the modifieds, the dirt modified. I drove a few of the dirt late models, and then we've come back to the street stock. And the street stock, they have a lot of what they call big shows, bigger money races. So the street stock kind of fits us better. It's more of you're racing against everybody works for a living type deal. So it just helps us, and that's what we've kind of grown toward this last few years. Well, the first race was kind of it's a long time ago. I guess about 20 or 23, 24 years ago actually. But actually my first race was I traded a four-wheeler for it. Just a little mini stock, and everybody was kind of telling me that, you know, you just need to be prepared because these guys been doing a long time and things. So we come down here on a Sunday afternoon. We went and raced, and we actually ran second in the race, but they through checking things, they disqualified the guy who won. So actually, on paper, we won our very first race. And now after that, we kind of went backwards for a while, trying to learn the ropes and stuff like that. But it was pretty cool to never do it and then actually come down here and win the first race. The thing about racers, they're awesome. They're very helpful. Even though we all race together, everybody tries to help a lot. Especially if it's someone new to the sport. Everybody kind of pulls together. They help with parts. They help with the information because the thing about it, if you don't, there's not nobody gonna be able to replace us when we decide to retire or whatever. So you got to bring new people in. You got to make it for people who doesn't get burned out and things like that. Once you kind of get established and start winning, that's whenever that racers start treating you a little different. There's some rivalry. Some of that goes on. Not like what you would watch a lot, but there's definitely certain families or certain teams that you just want to beat a little bit more than others. And then hopefully you're the team that wants to be. Hopefully you're the guy that everybody wants to beat, because if you are, that means you're winning, you know. Yeah. So that's kind of what you get into in this area. We don't do a lot of different things. There's things I was talking about earlier. A lot of racers don't eat chicken on Sundays for whatever reason. A lot of people don't want to paint their cars green. A lot of people don't want to run the number 13. Me, as far as what I do differently, I always, like when I get in the car, our steering wheels are removable, and I always, no matter what, if I have to stop and reposition it before we go out, I always turn the steering wheel a certain way. I don't know if it's really a ritual, but it's just something that I always like to do. And I have like for me, there's certain things that I got to do no matter what, like check the lug nuts. I always have to make sure the lug nuts are checked. As far as what I wear, everything, this is my favorite race suit. I always try to wear this racing suit on the feature nights, the actual race nights. I feel more comfortable. Then I guess probably the biggest thing that I have that I've stuck with all these years is I have a neck brace. It goes in between your helmet. It's just basically what a neck brace keeps you from head moving around. But I've had it for like 17 years. So I tried to get a new one. It didn't feel right. I threw it away. I got my good one, my old one back out. So I guess that would be mainly the biggest thing I have. Yeah, basically, we'll start with the street stock. Basically, a street stock is when you come. If someone comes to races where they've been before and never came, people like, and I've learned over the years, people they like to watch big races, but they also want to be familiar with the car. Like they want to be able to get up there and watch and say, hey, I've got a car like that, or when I was a teenager, that was my first car, or whatever. Well, these cars, like the street stocks, they resemble like a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, or like a 75 model up into the early 80 models. And then you'll see a lot of the Chevrolet Camaros where people can actually look at it and say, well, I've had that car, I could have made it a race. It gives them an opportunity that doesn't just make it look like that. Well, there's no way I could ever do it.